Welcome everyone to Get Those Cryptos. We talk about all things cryptocurrency and blockchain technology on here. We try to really simplify things so that you can have a better understanding it, because this is the next revolution. This is coming. Cryptocurrencies, blockchain going to take over the world. So make sure you subscribe to this channel if you have not already. And if you have, YouTube's getting a little fancy with their algorithm and everything. So click the bell in the top, I think, right corner of my channel. So click that bell and you'll be notified every time I go live. We go live every single Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. I'm live in Dallas, Texas. Usually I have Mason with me, my friend who worked at a crypto exchange. He's in Hong Kong right now, finishing up some schooling with exams, and will potentially hopefully be moving back to America at some point in a couple of weeks, probably. But without further ado, let's get started on everything. There is so much news to talk about. So much has been going on with cryptocurrency right now, with the biggest crypto conference going on, one of the biggest conferences in the world throughout the entire year, maybe if not the biggest. It's been going on in New York. It's called Consensus. And it's actually been blockchain week as a whole in New York. So it's not only Consensus that's going on. Consensus ended today. I think it might have ended a few hours ago. I'm not sure if there's a night event, but we're going to talk about all the partnerships that were announced during Consensus, a little bit of bad news that came into the ecosphere of cryptocurrency. It's really not that bad of news, which is really interesting because right now, everyone was talking about how Consensus was going to be the next big thing for cryptocurrency. Because last year, here we have some stats. Last year, actually, it's not on this one, but I had it up before. So last year, Bitcoin went up 60% during this week of Consensus. And then following the 2 months after that, it went up more than, I think, 200%. I have the stats right here next to me. And yeah, and it's just insane to think about that could happen just within this week. And even years previous, before last year, it went up a huge amount during this time. So everybody was anticipating this week. Everyone was saying this is going to be the turning point in the year where everything goes up. But as I refresh CoinMarketCap here, things actually aren't going up that much. There's actually a pretty big downturn. And actually just very, very recently, like within the past couple of hours, is when things have started to look green again. Before, it was just red all across the board. And it was a little concerning because this was so hyped up to everyone. This was supposed to be the time where Bitcoin and every single crypto was just going to go to the moon and skyrocket. So got to sit back and ask ourselves, why? Why is this happening? I mean, we look at this conference, it tripled in size from last year. The tickets are pretty expensive. It was roughly $2,000 a ticket to get into Consensus. And they had 8,500 attendees. So they almost made $17 million just in ticket sales. And this is CoinDesk that is putting it on. CoinDesk, it's a pretty popular news article, online articles about cryptocurrency, and they're kind of controversial. The founder of Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, doesn't like it because they did some false reporting on a few things. But anyways, I mean, this is crazy. There was so many people going. There was so much money flowing in, huge people flying in from all over the world with all different cryptocurrency projects. Why didn't the price go up? And this all goes back to right before the conference started. There was this FUD, some fear, uncertainty, and doubt that came about that one of the largest crypto exchanges in South Korea, called Upbit, they actually were under investigation. People just came into them and they were under investigation. They just opened their doors and they were saying, you have a lot of fraudulent activity. And this was in South Korea again. And so they came in and everyone started freaking out because this is, I think, the second biggest. This says the biggest, but I think BitThumb is the biggest in South Korea, but maybe by transactions, who knows. But Upbit is one of the biggest. They're the fifth biggest in the world. And so if you have your money on Upbit and you hear that authorities have gone in and they're going in and they are saying that these people are stealing money from investors. So if you invested in a coin, then I mean, your money could be gone. So everyone just pulled their money out. I mean, not everyone, a lot of people did. That's why everyone thought that the market was going down, because it did start going down after this. And this, another important thing is, when this keeps happening in Asia and specifically in Korea, you hear bad news, the whole crypto market goes down, and it's frustrating to people all over the world because they do have such a pull. So hopefully the more and more Americans and Europeans get involved, the less little things like this will happen. And so the people rated Upbit, the authorities rated Upbit, and they said, we're going to audit you right now. We're going to figure out and call you out and say that you are doing fraudulent activities. But it turns out that they weren't doing any fraudulent activities. Now, they're not off the hook yet because they did get an accounting to do an audit for them, but it was an in-house accountant. So they say, yes, I checked them off, everything is fine. They're doing exactly what they said they're doing. But I don't know if that's true yet because the authorities haven't actually done a full audit. And the reason for all this speculation and everyone questioning this is because Upbit works with Bittrex in America. They're partners of some sort. And so they, from what I understand, when someone buys something on Bittrex, they can actually have it on Upbit. So if someone buys something on Bittrex, they might actually have that supply in Upbit or vice versa. So they can kind of trade back and forth. And so you can see here, cryptocurrencies traded in KRW, that's the Korean won, is directly managed by Upbit. And when customers buy other virtual currencies, transactions are made through Bittrex under the responsibility of Upbit. So they're going back and forth. And obviously that's pretty difficult to understand, especially if you're trying to audit something. And the people who are auditing them came in and said there's fraudulent activity, saying there's 130 cryptocurrencies traded on Upbit, about 40 do not support e-wallets. That's actually the person from Upbit saying that. So there's just so much kind of confusion, so many different wallets trying to keep up with all these different cryptocurrencies. And you see more and more exchanges adding more and more cryptocurrencies. So it's just becoming a bigger headache for not only the exchange, but for the regulators to keep up with. So then you see people like Coinbase who have been pretty adamant about keeping with their core group of cryptocurrencies, which is Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. And so they haven't really ventured out, although they did say they are going to announce ERC20 tokens soon, but more on Coinbase in a second. By the way, just looking at the chat, feel free to ask any questions. I'm looking at it right now. I'm kind of going back and forth. So feel free to just throw out anything in that chat. So something weird is happening with the markets right now. And to be honest, I don't know what it is. And I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, a lot of YouTubes, been reading all these articles, all these live tweets, everything. And the sentiment is kind of the same. Everyone's saying, why is the price going down when consensus is happening? But consensus just ended, and go figure, the prices are starting to come up. And I think that's because there were some more exchanges that were opening up to cryptocurrencies. So again, consensus just ended. Let's talk about some of the biggest partnerships that happened during consensus. So the first one, let's talk about IBM and Stellar. So Stellar is, a lot of people will compare it to Ripple and XRP, but it's less centralized than Ripple and XRP. But Stellar is trying to work with big corporations and big banks and trying to create a platform that is decentralized. And so IBM is using Stellar's blockchain to make a crypto token that's actually already made called Verde. And it's really interesting what they're doing. They're trying to, it says right here, are designed to give enterprises that pollute the environment a way to offset that damage by supporting a patch of Indonesian rainforest. when I first read this, I was kind of thinking, okay, this is starting to get out of hand. People are able to support the rainforest without making a coin. And honestly, I'm kind of still in that boat. I don't know if this is necessary, but obviously, I mean, if it's important enough for IBM to partner with Stellar, then obviously there is going to be a real use case. And this is going to be one of the biggest first real use cases that isn't just using bank-to-bank transfers or something like that, just strictly financial. This actually has a purpose. So by moving this process to an easily auditable blockchain and tokenizing the credits in a similar way that a Bitcoin tokenizes monetary value, IBM's newly appointed blockchain offering manager, Jared Klee, believes a vibrant market could eventually be open to a much larger audience. We're creating a fungible digital asset, a token which part of the goal is to create a market where people can buy, sell, trade, and then redeem it for underlying credits. Okay, there's the part where it actually talks about, let's see, our engagement with Veridium. That's the company who is making the token, Verde, for this rainforest preservation. Will mark the first public IBM involvement in a token issuance on a public network. So from what I understand with this is, right now people will say do construction in a rainforest, and maybe there's a lot of pollution that they cause in that rainforest, all different types of pollution. But they also say that they're going to, with the money that they make, if they're trying to build something, they're going to give back to the rainforest or something. And there's kind of a gray area with that. So with this public blockchain and using an incentivized token, I believe this is saying that you can now create a network where these companies, you can audit these companies and you can see their complete blockchain. So you can know that they're giving back to this rainforest, that their carbon footprint can be publicly put on the blockchain. So you know exactly what this company is doing to the rainforest, and you know their history of how much they've taken away from the rainforest or how much they've given to the rainforest. So they're doing this proof of concept with this token, and it'll be really interesting to see. But I mean, not so much this token of the rainforest. I don't believe this is as big as just the fact that IBM is partnering with Stellar, a big public blockchain that has its own cryptocurrency too. So I don't think the Stellar cryptocurrency, Stellar Lumens, their actual token or their coin on the Stellar blockchain, I don't think that's being used here. They're using that Verd token. So something really interesting to see. I would like a little bit more information about it. I mean, this isn't enough to really go into the purpose of the coin and how it'll work, but it'll be interesting to see. Again, just a big news that IBM is partnering with Stellar. We knew this before, but we didn't know what it was for and how they were going to use it. So now we actually do. So next, let's talk about Icon. If you're familiar with Icon, they're based out of Korea, probably the biggest Korean coin out there. And they are working to do a lot of interoperability. And what does that mean? That means that they can connect a lot of blockchains seamlessly. So right now with Bitcoin, that is separate than the Ethereum blockchain. So Bitcoin has its own blockchain. Ethereum has its own blockchain. And all these different cryptocurrencies that aren't built on top of another, for example, ERC20 tokens, they're called tokens because they don't have their own blockchain. They're called tokens because they're built on top of Ethereum. So these coins that have their own blockchains, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, like Stellar, Icon their business model is saying, hey, we can connect all of those different blockchains. And it doesn't even have to be some of these crypto blockchains. It could be potentially private blockchains, because you can have a public or a private blockchain. If you're a bank and you have a lot of not secret transactions, but you have a lot of private transactions that you don't want the rest of the world seeing, then you're going to use a private blockchain. But that goes without saying that with this private blockchain, someone can come in and audit them, and they can see everything. They can see all the transactions. Everything is fully transparent. It's just not going out to every single person in the world, because if you're a bank, if you're someone else, you do need some privacy. So a lot of people do need that privacy. And there is, that's one of the first questions, honestly, you should ask yourself when looking at a project or when looking at a business, or if someone tells you, I'm going to make a blockchain project, the first question you should ask is it public or is it private? Or maybe is it a hybrid of some sort? So Icon, that's what they're doing. They're really big and they have a lot of people backing them. I think it was it Pantera Capital, one of the biggest venture capital firms in America, actually, for crypto. They are heavily invested in Icon. There's a ton. So Icon, look out for them. This year could be huge for them. And so Icon is partnering with Line. And for those of you who don't know what Line is, they're Japan's largest messaging app that supports more than 200 million monthly users. 200 million monthly users. That is a ton. And they're not only a messaging app. They're almost like a Facebook meets an Uber. So they have a messaging app. They have a Line taxi, which is like Uber. They have Line scheduling, like a Google Calendar. They have Line maps, like a Google Maps. They have Line videos. Maybe that's like a YouTube. I mean, they do it all. They're like a WeChat of China, and so Line is to Japan as WeChat is to China, as maybe Facebook is to America or Uber or something. I mean, they control so much, 200 million users a month. That's crazy. And so what this means is that actually back in January too, Line said that they were going to launch a crypto exchange at some point. So that was huge news at the time, but then everyone kind of forgot about it because you didn't hear about it. And now Icon during Consensus came out and they said, we're partnering with Line and we're going to help them build this decentralized, or build this exchange. I'm not sure if it's going to be decentralized yet, but they're going to help build this exchange. And more importantly, they also announced that they're going to be building a ton of dApps, decentralized apps on top of Icon. And since Line, I mean, Line, this is what they do. They basically have an app store just for Line. Like you can get all of those different things like the Line taxi, the Line maps, the Line scheduling. It's like a little app store within Line. And they know this app market very, very well. So the fact that they're now trying to get into decentralized apps, what does that tell you? This is one of the biggest companies in Japan, and Japan is one of the biggest crypto environments, and South Korea is one of the biggest crypto environments. Back in a couple months ago, they were #1 and #2, and these are potentially #1 and #2, some of the biggest companies in those countries. So this partnership is going to be huge. This means that potentially, and so Line is going to be putting their decentralized apps on top of Icon's blockchain. So they're using Icon's blockchain. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of these projects have their own blockchain. Icon is going to have their own blockchain, and Line is going to be building on top of that. This means potentially that more than 200 million people per month will be using Icon's blockchain. So let that sink in. Right now, Ethereum has a lot of people, but this would just vastly, vastly improve Icon. They already have a great project. I'm not exactly sure. Well, as far as the coin for Icon, they would use it kind of like Ethereum. It would be part of the project where it would be kind of like fees where you would pay, kind of like gas with Neo. And there's a couple of other incentivized models with their coin. But this is huge. Think about 200 million people in Japan, or maybe around in the other Asian countries around there, would be using Icon's blockchain via Line. So this is really big. This means that decentralized apps can really come to fruition, because right now, I mean, we've heard of CryptoKitties. If you haven't already, CryptoKitties was one of the dApps, decentralized apps, that was built on top of Ethereum's blockchain. And for whatever reason, it got super, super popular. And all it was is you can somehow get this virtual cat, kind of like a, what were those called? Those little toga, oh my gosh, toga manchi. If anyone knows the answer to this, please put this in the comments. There are little virtual people that I played with when I was little. Anyways, so yeah, Jack's saying he got burned by CryptoKitties. It'll happen. So yeah, with these CryptoKitties, it was so much, it became so popular that it actually took down the Ethereum blockchain. It didn't take it down, but it got so clogged up that all of the transactions were taking forever. Cryptocurrency or CryptoKitties was going down, and it was a total mess. But it was a good mess because at that point, everyone realized that, wow, we have a lot more to do with the Ethereum blockchain as far as scaling. We need to improve the transactions per second, all this stuff. But again, not that many people use decentralized apps. It's not like you open up your phone and use decentralized app. You open up an app like you do in the App Store. So I think that's coming within the next couple of years. It's going to be a decentralized app market, and everything's going to be a DApp. And so Icon is going to be a huge player in this, and Line is going to be a huge player in this. Looking at the chat a little bit before this, Eric asked, is Bitcoin private or public blockchain? So it's kind of both. This is interesting because you have a private key that is associated with you and that no one else should know. And you also have a public key, and that public key is what you would give someone. And what these keys are, it's just a long string of numbers and letters. And so a public key is a long string of numbers and letters that you would give someone. It's public if someone wanted to pay you. So say my public key was 8610, and there's some letters in there. So say it's 86XY. And Eric wanted to pay me 20 Bitcoin, which would be sweet. So you want to pay me 20 Bitcoin, you would go on one of these exchanges and you would say, I'm sending this to 80XY or whatever I just said it was my public key, and that would be public. So then you know that public key is associated with me. Let's say it was 1234, just to make this easy. So 1234 is my public key. Eric sent me 20 Bitcoin by putting, I'm sending 20 Bitcoin to 1234. So he knows that 1234, that public key is associated with me, Austin. But if someone just sees that on the actual blockchain, they see this on the public ledger, they can see all these transactions happening saying, okay, 20 Bitcoin was sent to 1234. As a third party, you have no idea who 1234 is. You have no idea who all these transactions are going to. So in that regard, it's private. But, you have like a pseudonym kind of there. But at the same time, since Eric knows I'm 1234, he knows that's my public key. Well, he can actually search that in something like for Ethereum and Etherscan, and he can search that, and then you can see every single transaction that I've done. So that's why a lot of these big institutional investors or bankers or something, they don't want to give out that information, because then you can see every single thing that they've done. And that's why people like big bankers, they would like a private blockchain, and why there are private blockchains. So that way, if I see 1234, I can't trace that back to a banker and know, okay, this person has a ton of money. That also, it's dangerous for them, because you've seen a ton of things in the news where people are getting mugged. Rule number one in crypto, don't talk about how much crypto you have. And people are literally getting mugged, held to gunpoint, and people physically stealing crypto, their ledger wallets out of there. So that, hopefully that answers your question about whether it's private or public. So Bitcoin is kind of both. If you know that person's public key, then you can trace it all the way back. If you don't, then it's just a string of numbers and letters, and you don't know who that person is. Let's see, Martha said something. Martha said, I want to start accepting crypto for my business. Awesome. I've had Litecoin since last year, but haven't really put it to work for me. What would you advise me? That's a great question, Martha. And that's so awesome that you're trying to actually accept something for your business. So what I would say is to go to Coinbase. They actually have a Coinbase Commerce is what it's called. And it's pretty easy integration. I've used it on my website before, where you can start accepting crypto. So check that out. Okay, so this is, like I said, huge partnership for Icon, huge partnership for Stellar that we kind of already knew about. Next, Coinbase, of course, they're always in the news, and Coinbase released a huge announcement. They've been hiring people like crazy. They hired, I think, over 600 to like 1,000 new people, and everyone was speculating why. People thought, okay, they're going to bring on more coins. They're going to bring on XRP, but then they announced they're going to bring on ERC20 tokens. And then there was the SEC's talking about, well, we don't know if they're securities or not. So no one knew exactly where Coinbase was going until now. So Coinbase just announced this huge suite of institutional products. So they're saying in the past few months, over 100 hedge funds were created that exclusively invested and traded cryptocurrencies. And so Coinbase released 3 different products for institutional investors. They, quote unquote, are trying to unlock $10 billion of institutional investor money that's sitting on the sidelines. Because if I'm an institutional investor and I have the money and I want to get into crypto, and let's say I even go as far as, okay, I'm going through Coinbase, everything is safe. I want to buy it and I know how, I'm very technologically advanced and everything. But even if I have $10 million or something that I want to put in there, the problem is securing it. So buying it's not the problem, it's securing it, because I don't want to have $10 million worth of crypto on me, because that could get stolen, it could get hacked, even if it is on a ledger. That's unsettling to me to have $10 million that is being just stored personally on me. I don't want to be my own bank. So Coinbase is releasing a custody type of deal where they are going to actually store and secure their crypto. So that's the first thing that they're going to be doing is Coinbase custody. So with Coinbase custody, it just says here, right now they have experience safely storing more than $20 billion worth of cryptocurrency. So they're just saying we're absolutely qualified. And they are in partnership with an SEC regulated broker dealer. That's huge. Coinbase Custody is proud to offer a service that couples Coinbase's cryptocurrency security excellence with third-party auditing and financial reporting with the high standard of SEC regulated custodial broker dealer. So now if I'm an investor, a big institutional investor, I can go through Coinbase. They already released the index fund, so I can either go through Coinbase there, or I can buy a bunch of crypto and I can say, hey, I don't feel comfortable holding this. Can you hold it for me, Coinbase? Because I trust you and you have all these great things going for you. So that's big. That's number one. Number two, Coinbase Markets. So with Coinbase Markets, it's basically a software that will be extremely low latency. And what that means is that if the price of a coin changes, then it will like be incredibly fast and change on Coinbase right now. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay and it's different amongst markets and everything. And so with this, it's going to be even more liquidity, even more liquid. So you can pull your money out faster, hopefully. You can buy faster. You won't have to be waiting for all these orders to go through. And they're going to be doing clearing services, a bunch of different things for Coinbase Markets. Now, I might add that they are adding an office in Chicago. That's where a lot of these people that they've been hiring are going. And so that's going to be huge. And then third is Coinbase Prime. Coinbase Prime is going to be a platform designed specifically to provide a suite of tools and services that institutional investors rely on when trading cryptocurrencies. So this is kind of like a little bit of what GDAX looks like. If you're familiar with GDAX, that's where you can buy cryptocurrencies at no charge, and they are owned by Coinbase. But this is what institutional money wants. They want all of this. They want us to be able to see this in a clear, concise, and well put together dashboard and interface. So they're going to be bringing this, and I mean, this is going to be a game changer. This is actually going to give them tools to trade. It's also, they said they're working on, somewhere in here, that they are working on lending. Let's see, lending and margin financing, which means if you're trading on margin, you can borrow money from Coinbase and short the market or long the market or something. So you can actually leverage a lot more money. If you have $10,000, you could potentially leverage another $10,000 and buy $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. And if it goes up, that's how a lot of people make a lot of money. That's also how you lose a lot of money. So I would stay away from leverage trading and margin trading unless you really know what you're doing. There was a person who got liquidated the other day who did margin trading like 10 times of what he put in. He put in $1 million. He lost $10 million like that. It's insane. And this, they're also going to add where you can buy over the counter. So what that means is these huge investors, institutional investors, they're not going on Coinbase and buying right now. They're not going on GDAX or Bittrex or Gemini or any of these exchanges and buying right now. They go through a company, whether it's like a fund of some sort, and they will actually buy it over the counter, which means that they have an agreed upon deal. Sometimes it might be even more than the market price, but they know it's that set number that they're going to buy it from. And they have the confidence that they are working with this fund, someone who's experienced, and they can for sure get their money and everything, instead of having to wait in a market and do a buy or a limit order or something. And with over-the-counter trading, it doesn't affect the market immediately. So if someone buys 100 million worth of Bitcoin, it's not going to increase the price of Bitcoin, which a lot of people think that it does. But then a lot of people say that it doesn't affect the market at all because it's just over the counter. But that's not true either. Because think about it, whoever these institutional investors are buying crypto from, say it's a big fund of some sort, where does that fund get the crypto from? If I'm trying to buy $10 million worth of Bitcoin, and I'm an institutional investor, so I buy $10 million worth of Bitcoin from this fund, where does that fund get $10 million worth of Bitcoin from? Someone has to be buying it. And the more institutional investors that come in, the more that these funds and these institutions have to buy Bitcoin. But obviously they're not buying it just from GDAX or from Gemini or from Binance. They're not doing it like that exact. I mean, they are, but they're not doing it in one trade. They're not buying $10 million in one trade. They're very strategic about it. They're buying a little bit on GDAX. They're buying a little bit on Bittrex. They're buying a little bit on Gemini. And they're doing it at different times and at different dates so that it's not affecting the market so much. So there's a whole science, there's a whole strategy that goes behind this that honestly, most of it is stuff that I don't know, that a lot of people don't know, that big institutional investors know. Okay, let's see. Looking at the chat right now, Eric asked, how many coins are in the index fund? Where can we see the coins they have within the index? I believe they're just starting out with what they have right now. So it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. And so with those four, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I think that's all. With those four, they will obviously disperse it as they find adequate, and they will try, I guess you will tell them the different type of risk levels you want to take. But I would just search Coinbase index fund and it'll come up. I believe though you do have to be an institutional investor. So what that means is you have to have, I think it's at least 200,000 annual income coming in, or you have to have at least $1 million net worth, like not including assets like your house or something. So double check on that, but I'm pretty sure you have to be an institutional investor. Martha asked, do we have a Coinbase office here in Texas? Not that I know of. I believe it's only in New York and San Francisco and Chicago. And I'm not even positive about San Francisco. I know at least New York and Chicago now. And one last thing about this that is actually really big but overlooked is that they're also adding a ton more support systems for these institutional investors. So we understand that institutions need more than great products, they need great service too. So they're creating this institutional coverage group that is focused exclusively on serving the needs of institutional clients by providing sales, trading, research, market options, client service, support. They're headquartered in New York, and they have people coming from the SEC, the CFTC, New York Stock Exchange, Morgan Stanley. They're experienced. So if I'm an institutional investor, I see this and I feel a lot better about investing in cryptocurrencies, because before, I mean, you heard all these horror stories with people investing losing their crypto, somehow getting hacked by an exchange. This is coming about as becoming a more and more safe way to invest in cryptocurrency as an institutional investor. And they're trying to get that $10 billion of institutional money. And I think it's a lot more than that sitting on the sidelines. So Coinbase, again, is doing huge things, but they also have a lot of competition coming. They have Circle that is going to be coming about with, they acquired Poloniex, an exchange. They might be doing some big things. I know that, what is it called? Robinhood. Robinhood has been starting to expand. Robinhood, if you don't know, we've talked about it a lot on this channel. They are a no commission based trading app where mainly they started on the stock market, and you can just trade and buy stocks and it's 0% commission. You don't have to pay any fees whatsoever. The average age of a Robinhood user is 31. So it's a really young market. The people who are using this app, are into cryptocurrencies, and they released a cryptocurrency, but it's not an exchange. Within their app, you can buy and sell Bitcoin. To be honest, I haven't seen it yet because they've only released it in a few states and Texas isn't one of them. So I haven't been able to use it, but I have read that you can buy Bitcoin somehow, but you can't actually pull out or hold your own Bitcoin. And until that, I don't think, Rob, until that happens where you can actually hold your own crypto and put it in your own hardware wallet or trade it for whatever you want, I don't think Robinhood's going to be competing, but I know they are going to lead that direction. They just got funded, I think, like $300 million or something. So they'll definitely be a big player. Next, Microsoft. I mean, this is not that big, to be honest. It was just a little bit of fun. I always try to get a little bit of some bad news in there just so you see both sides. So it's not, I'm not trying to just blindside you and thinking this is all perfect, but Microsoft's Bing to remove all cryptocurrency ads, industry impact is minimal. So for those who use Bing, you won't see any crypto ads. I don't know anyone who actually uses Bing, but there are a lot of people who do actually, but I do not. And again, this is coming after Facebook has banned all crypto ads, Google has banned all crypto ads, and it's a little surprising just because they can be making a lot of money off of these ads. I mean, these cryptocurrency companies and crypto projects are getting funded hundreds of millions, some billions of dollars. They have a lot of ad money to throw around. And it's funny because Google and Facebook, they'll allow ads for like gambling websites, or they'll allow ads to like do all these other things that are seemingly really bad for people. It's a bad influence on people. Or they have ads to open up credit cards. So if you can see this ad as a 16-year-old person on Facebook and you say, oh, I'd like a credit card, you click that ad, you get a credit card, and potentially you can get into credit card debt. I mean, it's the same thing as buying crypto. Yeah, you can make some bad decisions with crypto, but if it's there, then you can educate yourself more. But to be honest, I don't really care that these people are banning ads, because most of the people in crypto companies that are using these banner ads are probably not the best projects. I don't want to put that in a whole category of all these projects together. I don't mean to discriminate there, but for the most part, if it's a very good project and they have a lot of backing, they don't have to spend money on advertisements on Facebook. Martha asked, by when do you see us having a cashless society? That's a very good question, because I think America is behind. I know America is behind. A lot of people in Asia, they have a cashless society. Sweden, I listened to this person called Ivan on Tech. He's on YouTube. He's big into cryptocurrencies and he's a coder and everything. And he says it is a cashless society in Sweden. You don't use cash. And it's interesting though, because we definitely are moving it. I went to a food hall around my area. It's a bunch of restaurants all in one place, and they don't accept cash. It says no cash, and you can actually go up to a machine and you can put in cash and it'll give you a card that has tokens on it. So, I mean, it's literally a cryptocurrency right there. That's exactly what a cryptocurrency is. It's put on this card, and then you can use those tokens to use amongst all the different vendors and restaurants around there. So I do believe it's coming. As far as a date, I have no idea. I think somewhere between 5 and 10 years. Maybe, yeah, I mean 5 and 10 years. Okay, next partnership we're going to talk about. This one kind of went under the radar, and but it's huge, and it's actually kind of on the same basis of institutional products, kind of like what Coinbase did that we just talked about. This partnership is with Ledger, as in the Ledger Nanos, the hardware wallets, and Nomura. So Nomura is Japan-based global investment bank. Nomura has announced a venture to establish a custody offering for digital assets. I believe this is like, if not one of the biggest banks in Japan, if not the biggest. So we're seeing a lot of positive things coming out of Japan, which is good. And they are trying to remove barriers to institutional investment into the crypto space. Basically, they're doing what Coinbase is trying to do to America. They're trying to do this in Japan, but this is a bank. This is a real bank. And they're partnering with Ledger, as like I said earlier, the Ledger Nano, the hardware wallets, because obviously they have the knowledge and the experience with how to keep cryptocurrencies safe. And so again, this is going to be a custodial bank now. It's going to be a custody offering, which means if I'm a big institutional investor in Japan and I say I even bank with Nomura, let's say I want to put a couple $1 million into it, I can just now tell that to Nomura, and they can hold these digital assets. They can hold Bitcoin for me safely and securely through their partnership with Ledger. Now, I don't know exactly how this looks, but for example, Xapo, XAPO, they've also changed their model where they're now becoming a custodial project too. I mean, these are popping up everywhere now, and they actually have like I forgot where, I think a old Swiss bunker, literally underground, where they're storing these things. So of course they're not going to tell you where they are, but it's crazy. All these banks are now coming to it. Institutional money is coming, guys. It is coming. And here again, there's that quote from Coinbase: unlock $10 billion worth of institutional investor money sitting on this sideline. So this new digital asset custody venture, it's going to be called Komenu. That's the partnership between Ledger and the bank Nomura. So look out for them. If any of you are in Japan and you want to get into the crypto space, and you have a couple $1 million, this could be a safe way of getting in. But gosh, I mean, you just read each and every article. I'm telling you, this is all coming together. It's everything slowly pushing it. We are so close to just getting institutional investors into it. And whether that's even a good thing or not, I was talking to someone about this, Eric actually, was in the chat. It's really interesting and kind of ironic because everyone in the crypto sphere, a lot of them are kind of rebels, and they're saying, we don't want banks, we don't want institutions, we want everything decentralized. But then you go on Reddit and Twitter and people are saying, oh, this is great news. We need to get institutional money so that, because I invested in Bitcoin, because I invested in Ethereum, and if institutional money comes in, the price is going to go way up and I'm going to be rich. But they're kind of going against their own word of saying that we don't want institution and centralization, because when these institutions come, centralization will follow. And as we'll see how centralized it is, it won't be as centralized as our world today, because that's this whole crypto revolution, but it's going to be more centralized. It's not going to be everything decentralized, I don't think. Again, none of this is financial advice or anything. This is just my opinion. See any chat questions? Nope, we are still good to go. Okay, this is another really, really interesting article. So I see there being a lot of big opportunities for a lot of big money to be made, and institutional money is one of them. So we got Nomura Bank, we got Coinbase, we got Xapo, I talked about earlier, trying to hold these people, trying to be custody solutions for big institutional investors. The next really big opportunity like massive, massive opportunity to make a lot of money for projects. For a project is to be a stable coin. So a stable coin is a coin that isn't volatile. It doesn't go up and down 100% in a few weeks, kind of like Bitcoin will sometimes, but it is pegged to something. And so there can be different stable coins. Most of the time, people are trying to make stable coins that are pegged with the US dollar. And so that means that one token of this stable coin is equal to $1. And so that just helps a lot with bringing people in. It's easy to understand. And there are different stable coins, such as, gosh, I'm blanking on the name. I think it's not MakerDAO. They're pegged to the dollar, but there's some that are pegged to gold. And so the price of that token, of that stable coin, is actually pegged to whatever the price of gold is, and it moves with the price of gold. So it's just like a tokenized way of investing in gold. It's tokenizing your assets. So I think we're going to live in the future in a tokenized economy where you buy real estate instead of buying, shares in a company or a percentage of land. You're going to buy a number of tokens, and depending on how many tokens you buy is depending on how much it's worth. So in this article, Circle raises 110 million in investment round, plans to release fiat-based stablecoin. Another reason why stablecoins are massive is because right now, one of the biggest ones, Tether. If you've heard of Tether, their business model of being a stablecoin, they're also stable and they're pegged to the US dollar. So one Tether is $1 US, but they claim that for every single Tether that they have, Tether coin token, they are printing that same amount of money. They have that same amount of money in a bank somewhere. They're not actually printing it. That's against the law. But if they have $10 billion worth of Tether, that they actually have $10 billion of in an actual account of US dollars in an actual account. And that is sketchy because people have tried to come in, authorities have tried to come in and say, look, that sounds preposterous. We need to go in there. We need to audit you and make sure you do have this money. And they refused to audit, and there was this whole scandal. So it is a ticking time bomb with Tether. I do not feel comfortable using Tether, but the reason why so many people do it, why there is such a huge need for these stable coins, is because when you buy let's say you buy a lot of cryptocurrency, and then the price of all the crypto, everything goes up and everything's doing really well. Your portfolio raises and you're ready to cash out, but you want to get back into the game soon. You just know that there's going to be a dip, but it's going to go right back up. So so you have made some money, instead of cashing back into your bank account, having to take a couple, like 3 days, and then buying more, having to take another couple of days. That's like a good week of time in between. The market can do a lot during that time. Well, instead, you can just put your money into a stable coin in Tether. So say I had 2 Bitcoin and I bought it at $10,000 and now it's at $20,000, and I made a good profit right there, but I know Bitcoin's going to go back down, and I know right after that it's going to go right back up within a couple of days. So I cash out. Instead of cashing out to my bank, I just get those 2 Bitcoin and I convert it to Tether. And so that way I'm still on the exchange. I'm still on a crypto exchange, and it's kind of like holding Bitcoin because I can still trade this Tether, but it's linked to the US dollar. It's pegged to the US dollar. So it's not going to be volatile like Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes down, way, way down, I still have however much I said, $20,000, $40,000, $20,000 that I made. So it's still going to be there. And then once it dips, say after a day, I can just put it right back. I can buy back into Bitcoin. I can buy Ethereum with Tether. I can just hop right back into the market. I can hop in and out with ease, without big transaction fees, and without a lot of time. That's the biggest thing, is time. That's huge in the cryptocurrency market. So that's the whole reason for a stable coin. And if someone can get something that isn't controlled by one company like Tether is, that isn't sketchy like Tether is, that can be huge. So what Circle is trying to do, and let's back up, Circle is backed by Goldman Sachs. So let's consider that. Circle is backed by Goldman Sachs, and the Circle is, I mean, they're backed by a bunch of people, but they're partnering with Bitmain, and Bitmain is the biggest provider of mining equipment in the world. They basically have a monopoly. I mean, it's insane. And some people are kind of against them because they are kind of becoming so centralized. So we'll see where this goes. But Bitmain, the mining equipment, when you mine for a cryptocurrency, basically you just purchase a really, really high powerful computer, and Bitmain has made the best ones, has always been making them, and that's just everyone's go-to. They sell the most, they have the biggest volume. So Circle, Goldman Sachs backed Circle, is going to be partnering with Bitmain, who is doing billions and billions of dollars in revenue. I believe it's billions. It might be close, a little bit under $1 billion, but they're doing a ton. They're going in together, trying to make a fiat-based token or stablecoin, which aims to address the unstable nature of some cryptocurrencies. The project is called Circle USD Coin, or USDC, and will reportedly be released by Circle in the summer. It's pretty soon. It will be an ERC20 token based on the Ethereum network. So they're putting a lot of trust in Ethereum, because if you have a stable coin built on Ethereum, if Ethereum goes way, way down, then potentially depending on how they code this actually, then actually no, it would still remain the same price. I was thinking of MakerDAO, the one I mentioned earlier. They're another stable coin, and they actually back up everything they do with Ethereum. So it could have a negative effect. If Ethereum goes down, then MakerDAO, the price could fluctuate a little bit. But anyways, this is going to be a huge, huge project. Circle CEO said in an interview at an industry conference that the token will provide greater transparency. It's a version of fiat that can move at the speed of the internet with global reach, with much less cost, with high levels of security. It's a huge improvement for how fiat money transmission can work around the world for consumers and for businesses who might want to collect digital payments with token. This could actually be the first step in replacing cash, because it's tough when you're trying to send Bitcoin. It's tough for people who haven't experienced crypto at all. It's tough for people to understand that I'm sending a 0.00314 of a Bitcoin, that I'm not just sending one Bitcoin. People don't even understand that you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy half a Bitcoin. You can buy a fourth of a Bitcoin. You can buy 0.018923451 of a Bitcoin. So with that said, maybe this could be the way that we can transition to that crypto environment. Basically, we have a US dollar, but it's virtual, it's pegged, and we can use that with apps. I don't know, time will tell, but it will be huge. I mean, a stable coin. There's also another project called Basis, and these are like pretty recent Princeton grads. They just raised $133 million by Bain, Google, Andreessen Horowitz. So, I mean, these are not small investors. They know what they're getting into, and $133 million, that's more than Circle. So definitely check them out too, Basis. And it's going to be really interesting to see all of these different stable coins battle it out, because I mean, obviously there can't be multiple stable coins, and unless, I mean, some people have different stable coins just on different exchanges, but that would kind of defeat the purpose. So it'll be very interesting to see who comes out on top. Let's see on the chat. Eric, they're the treasury securities of crypto. Yeah, there's actually another project too that I think it was in Thailand. They were printing actual like coupons of Bitcoin. So it had Bitcoin. It was almost like having dollars, but Bitcoin, and it was pegged to the dollar. And actually, I think it was cards, and you can like scan the card or Bitcoin. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was another interesting idea, but it kind of defeated the purpose of crypto and digital, having it on your phone and everything, in my opinion. All right, next, the CFO of Australia's Commonwealth Bank quits role to join EOS token developer Block One. So Australia's Commonwealth Bank is the biggest bank in Australia, one of the biggest banks over there. And This is the CFO. This is not, just someone who's a manager in the company. This is the CFO. And in my previous live streams, I mean, you probably heard me, I'm beating it like a dead horse, but you have to ask yourself, why are all these people leaving their very, very, very comfortable and well-paying jobs from Goldman Sachs, from JP Morgan, from Deloitte, from these massive companies? Why are they leaving their C-suite level positions to move into cryptocurrency? Obviously, they see something, and maybe they even know something. They probably do know more than we do when it comes to regulation, because they wouldn't be putting their job on the line, their life on the line like this. So the CFO of Australia's Commonwealth Bank has left the bank to join a blockchain company. The blockchain company is Block One, and they're the developers of EOS. If you don't know EOS, right now, I believe they are 5th on the market cap. Yeah, they're 5th on the market cap. Let's refresh this. It's doing well today, really well, 10%. It's already up 10% in the past 24 hours. They are doing, basically, a lot of people call them the Ethereum killer. I have a video that we've talked about Ethereum. Me and Mason talked about Ethereum versus EOS, so definitely check that out. But EOS, a lot of people say, can be the next huge thing. They can do massive transactions per second, but obviously, I mean, it's valued at how much? Let's see. There's volume is $1 billion, almost $2 billion. They had a year-long ICO and raised nearly $2 billion. They have a lot of money to hire a lot of big people and to fund a lot of big companies to build on top of their blockchain, but they still haven't even released the mainnet. I think it's June 5th or June 1st that they release the mainnet, which is basically they're actually releasing their project. And right now it's still in what's called a test suite or a test net. And with this test net, it's still in the testing phases. And even when they release their mainnet, it's still being tested, basically. It's like a beta. So there's still a long way to go with EOS. There's going to be a lot of problems I can probably see in the future, but we will see. I mean, it's all the hype right now. We will see how it goes. It was up like 100% just a couple of weeks ago. But still, a lot of people are moving there. The CFO of the biggest bank in Australia just joined the development team that developed EOS. So look out for that. Ask yourself why when you see these. And here it just says, again, Wall Street executive Mike Novogratz, he founded Galaxy Digital. He was the COO of Goldman Sachs. He left the same month. JP Morgan's blockchain arm left for the bank to start her own independent venture. I mean, the list goes on and on. I can do this all day. Next, staying on the topic of Australia, this is huge. So Australia, they banned for the next year, you can still use it this year, but for the next year, for 2019, Australia is going to be doing a cash ban where any purchases over $10,000, you cannot use cash for. You just absolutely can't. And so they're trying to curb tax evasion and money laundering, but yeah, this may help and add some transparency and a lot with taxes. I mean, that's really what it's for. They want to do more, give more taxes out. But think about people out there who actually do use this amount of cash, because there are a lot of people out there who do. Think about, I was hearing one reference about a farmer. There was a farmer on a farm who only uses cash. There's no banks around him. He's completely unbanked. He does business via cash, and now he has to buy a new tractor. Business is expanding, things are going well. Tractor's $12,000. He can't buy it now. He doesn't have cash, and there's no banks near him. What does he do? So this is actually a real problem. And to just take away people using cash like this, it's not 100% tax evasion and money laundering going on. Some people are really using cash. And you might say, okay, well, get that farmer a bank account. But I mean, easier said than done. That's like telling a lot of people too. And in Southeast Asia and in Africa, the billions of people who are unbanked, who literally don't have a bank anywhere, but they have smartphones. Well, what are you going to do? You can't open a bank account for them because there are no banks. But if they have a smartphone, they can use cryptocurrencies. So I think this $10,000 cash ban can be really, really big for cryptocurrencies to come in. And especially if this former CFO of the biggest bank in Australia comes in, maybe he can have some influence on this. But that'll be very, very interesting to see. Next, we got any more questions? Nope. Okay. I know we're going a little bit over an hour here, but I mean, there's a lot that has been going on and we got a lot more to talk about. Well, we got 3 more and I didn't even get every single article. So next, I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite coins. I think this is a great buy, great project, great team, and it is called Howie Coins. The pre-ICO sale is live. You can get them here. They are officially registered with the US government. You can look at their white paper here. You can even look at this. This is insane. You get a discount if you invest by June 1st, yada, yada, yada. I'm just joking, guys. Do not buy this. Do not go on this website. Well, you can go on the website, but do not purchase any of this. I don't even know if you can, because what this is, the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, one who's been we've been waiting to hear back from about whether Ethereum, all these other cryptos are securities. The SEC made this token and they made this website and they did it and they tweeted it out and said, look how easy it is to scam people. They did this to serve as a lesson. So I don't think you can actually go through. I wonder what happens if you do. But this is literally all made up by the SEC. I mean, it even looks, I mean, you can tell it looks kind of scammy. They could have probably done a little bit better job, but this is just saying like, yeah, even if there is it says token sale, it says that even if you see a white paper, Mason and I made a really good video, I think, that it's the 10 biggest things that you can look for when investing in a cryptocurrency. And we literally took a cryptocurrency called Funfair. We went in and we showed you everything that we look for when investing in a coin. So check that out. I think that's like on the cover page of my YouTube channel, my first video. So definitely check that out. But the SEC made this just to prove to people that, again, it is so easy to fall into this ploy of some of these fake ICOs. And like I said, even if it has a white paper, you go through the checklist, it has testimonials, it has a team. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's real. So you got to dig a little deeper. And like I said in the video that Mason and I made, literally Google the name of the coin. So Howie Coins. Let's do this right now. I mean, this won't work, but Howie Coins scam. Let's see what comes up. Well, the SEC created a fake ICO website to show just how easy it is to scam investors. But I'm trying to think of one that I think is scammy. So we can look at Tether scam. And there's a lot of discussions about, is Tether really a scam? Why is Tether being accused of a scam? Explain, is Tether a scam? So if you ever have a question about a cryptocurrency, this is honestly the first thing I do is I Google the name of the currency and scam and just see if there's a lot of talk about it. That's a red flag number 1, but even though you should still read why people think it's a scam or why not, but it can be sketchy. So this is kind of funny. I haven't downloaded any of this. I don't know, but I mean, the pictures, you can see just how cheesy some of these things are, but I'm sure, I guarantee you there were people trying to buy into this as soon as they heard it. So there will always be those people, but just be sure to be careful when trying to invest in some of these coins. Next, let's go and talk about Europe and what's going on there. What's the sentiment with crypto and blockchain? So this just came out pretty recently, 15 hours ago. This is one of the most bullish things I've seen really a lot of people say, who is a political figure. So French finance minister, it's the economic, I forgot exactly, the Minister of Economy and Finance, Bruno Le Maire, revealed his plans for French blockchain and cryptocurrency. He assured his total, quote unquote, total and determined support. Among the themes mentioned, the banking difficulties of companies in the sector, the taxation of cryptocurrencies, their accounting treatment, and the legal framework of the ICO. He was at a breakfast with entrepreneurs, including representatives of Blockchain Partner. Now, look at this quote. This is a very, very wise quote. And I got some French roots, so I'm happy and proud right now. I was a rookie years ago, but now I've been seized by a sudden passion. It took me a year. Let's teach this knowledge to our fellow citizen to make France the first place for blockchain and crypto innovation in Europe, said Bruno Le Maire. That is huge, guys. That is, I mean, you cannot get any more bullish than that. He's literally saying, I want France to lead this crypto and blockchain revolution, and I want to be the leader in Europe. And the biggest thing is, he says, I was a rookie. He acknowledged that he didn't know what cryptocurrencies were, but he didn't come out and say something terrible about it. He just said, I was a rookie. I didn't know. And so instead of saying all these terrible things about it, all these negative things about it, he stopped and he learned. And now he has this sudden passion. It took him a year, it took him a while, but now he wants to teach all of this knowledge, everything he learned, to everyone else, because it is that revolutionary. And if you don't, I mean, if you still don't know that much about cryptocurrencies, that's very much okay. Just keep watching these every Wednesday and maybe you'll know. But you don't have to know a lot of the technical aspects. You just have to know where it's going and just keep up with the news, connect the dots, see all of this that's going on, and try to understand as much as you can. I mean, this is great. This is great news for Europe, where we haven't seen that much activity coming out of. And it's just awesome to see this. He also stated the proposal to align the taxation of cryptocurrencies with that of precious metals was mentioned, but is not favorable. So again, maybe pegging a stable coin to gold like we talked about earlier. He proves this move would be risky. Yeah, there are some risks. He also talked about how he thinks ICOs, the way that ICOs are happening, the initial coin offerings, it's basically like IPOs, the initial public offerings, where companies can raise money publicly by getting coins, funding through these different coins. There's a lot that needs to be regulated, but it's a really, really, really efficient way of funding. So this is going to be big. I'm very excited to go to France and to see the sentiment. I'm going to France in like a month and a half. So maybe I'll probably be doing a live stream there so we can talk then. But this is great to see big figures. I mean, he's the Minister of Economy and Finance. You can't get someone more important when it comes to the economy and finance in France. So that is awesome. So that's France. Let's move to Germany. Germany's second biggest stock exchange launches crypto trading of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Ripple. So this, again, is huge. They're handling some $100 billion in trading volumes. They launched a crypto trading through a subsidiary. The subsidiary, I believe, is called Bison. Yeah, Bison. Bison simplifies trading in digital currencies. It is the world's first crypto app, behind which stands a traditional stock exchange. The prototype of the app already exists. The finished product will be available for free from autumn. This is huge for Germany. I mean, this is just, they also have, this is kind of cool. They have a crypto radar where they take a bunch of tweets and they can kind of gauge how the community is reacting and everything. But anyways, this is big because, like they said, this is going to be the first exchange that's actually backed by a real trading exchange. So by a real stock exchange. So recently in the last video, last Wednesday, we talked about how the New York Stock Exchange is looking into a crypto exchange, and the NASDAQ is looking at crypto exchange. That would be massive. That would be millions and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, maybe, or excuse me, hundreds of billions of dollars coming into the market. But as American, a lot of Americans will oftentimes kind of be narrow focused and they think, oh, this is going to be so great. This is happening in America. But look beyond America and look in Asia where most of this trading is happening. Look in Europe where there's a huge market, because this is going to lead to the real world adoption, to real world, not America, to real world adoption, and to really increasing the price. So that's going to be huge. I just talked myself out. There's a lot that I just said. Are there any more questions? I know we have a few more people watching. Yeah, we got some people watching. Is anyone have questions you can ask now? Otherwise, I'm going to refresh CoinMarketCap. It's crazy just how much everything has gone up within this hour of us talking. You love to see that. We'll give one more refresh. I'll wait for a question, and if not, I'll head out of here. Well, just like that, things kind of went back down a little bit, but that's awesome. I mean, it's coming back. Maybe now is the start. Just stay tuned. Like I said, we do these typically. I'm with Mason, who's in Hong Kong. He worked at a crypto exchange. We do these every Wednesday night at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. Make sure to tune in. Also on my YouTube channel, you can go to gettthosecryptos.com. We have a newsletter that we send out. And as soon as you go to Get Those Cryptos, you will see a pop-up that comes up on the website, and it actually will send you a free PDF guide. I made a complete crypto guide for Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ripple, or excuse me, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple. It is literally a complete guide, like 80 pages, just like question and answer. And I simplified it best I could. It was during the time where I just sat down and I learned everything I did, because I didn't know that I know now. I didn't know a lot at the time. I always followed it, but I didn't know a lot. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit down for a couple months and I'm just going to focus on this every single day. I'm going to learn it. And I did. And I took notes and wrote question, answer, very in-depth and simple in this book. I made it. I made the book as a PDF file. You can get it free on my website, gettthosecryptos.com, and sign up for the mailing letter, the newsletter that we send out probably about once a week. So with that said, thank you all for tuning in. Make sure tonight you go out and get those cryptos. Thanks for tuning in. I will see you next Wednesday. Bye, guys.